Hey friends, John Gerber with the Truth Factor and Trust Me. Today is Saturday. I just rested today. Today is Saturday. It's the 3rd or 2nd of August, 2024. I think it's 3rd of August. And what we do on this YouTube channel is we talk about, first of all, I share with you my personal testimony of how I came to faith in Jesus Christ in 1991 through a supernatural encounter that I had with God in my apartment. And I wasn't raised in the church. I had no interest in organized religion. My dad was a professor at a university. I was raised, we never went to church growing up. And I was raised during the 70s, and we kind of lived during the hippie times, and we never went to church. So when I met Jesus and God in my apartment, it was an eye-opening experience. See, I thought religion was some sort of mythological book, and made up of people's lives that lived thousands and thousands of years ago. And I really didn't have any understanding of how God was actually a real living God, and that I could actually have a relationship to a real living God, and God would come and be part of my life and bring new life to me. I had no concept of that. And so when it happened to me, I was at the time I was in I graduated from college. I had been working in industry for a couple years, and I began to have this problem. I was stuck in life, and nothing was working in my life in my late 20s, and I couldn't figure out why I was stuck. And I began to look into Eastern mysticism, New Age, began to look for answers, because I was seeing a psychotherapist, and I, because my parents divorced when I was 13, I was thinking, well, this is probably what the problem is. I have this baggage from my past that I need to sort out, and maybe that's why I'm stuck. So I started seeing a psychotherapist, and when I graduated from college, I didn't know what I was, but I know now what I was. I was a polytheist. See, my faith, I had put my faith and trust in science. So my life, I believed in the philosophy of science. I didn't believe in God, I believed in the philosophy of science. And because of that, since then I've learned that I was a polytheist. You see, I'm going to do a quick thing here. You need to go look up a man on YouTube. You need to find out our civilization, Western civilization, and even Eastern civilizations, really all civilizations, are really founded in polytheism, the ideas of polytheism, because that's how ancient civilizations operated prior to, say, Abraham. Prior to Abraham, which was about 4,000 years ago, we had these ancient civilizations, and you need a certain amount of knowledge in order to understand that. You're going to see that if you gain this knowledge, that today polytheism is still a very important, is still part of our world. In fact, the world is run by polytheists. Do you know that? Most of the globalists are polytheists. They're not Christians. They're polytheists. They believe in many gods. They're like Pharaoh. They believe in the gods of the Egypt, gods of the Greece. They claim to be agnostic or that. But even agnostics believe in philosophies that are founded in ancient civilizations. So by default, they're polytheists. They believe in many gods, the gods of the past. Okay, and really what it is, it's the teachings from angelic teaching, because the whole world was run by what we call the gods, which were fallen angels. They were angels, and this is the history of polytheism. And so our university systems, our academic world, was all founded in by an ancient Egyptian philosopher, founded what they call the 7 sacred sciences. And these are just all ancient civilization polytheistic ideals that are developed over time. And that's how we got our university systems today. Go watch the YouTube channel. His name's Gary Wayne. He wrote a book called The Genesis 6 Conspiracy. Watch some of his podcasts. You're going to get enlightened on ancient civilizations. And your eyes are going to open up to a lot of things about our civilization. But anyway, so I was a polytheist because I was a science guy. See, I believed in Darwinism. I believed in all that stuff. So my world in my young adult years, my world was totally wrapped up in the 3-dimensional material world. And that's what Western civilization, a very materialistic civilization. That's how we live. And most people live in that world. It's a 3-dimensional, in other words, 3 dimensions, and then of space, and the 4th dimension of time, and then material, the material world. And so our world, as a Western civilization, there's a slither of truth. You call it truth. What is truth? Well, that truth is there's a material world truth, all based in science. And that's what my world was. And I was stuck and I was miserable. And so when I heard this evangelist teach one day, he began to teach out of the book of Genesis chapter 2, talking about how I was a spiritual being. I possessed a soul and I live in my body. And he began to teach on Genesis chapter 2 of how God made Adam in the Garden of Eden and breathed the breath of life into Adam. Adam became a living soul. It was like that day a door to my spiritual life opened up. I realized that I had been living separated from God, because God is a spirit. So I had blocked God out of my life. I had, what I was doing, I was rejecting my spiritual life. And so my spiritual life was like dormant, and I was trying to live in this material world and try to be happy in a material world. Well, you can't be happy in a material world. Eventually you're going to get stuck. Why? Because you're a spiritual being, you possess a soul, and you live inside your body. And it's your spiritual life. It's through what I've learned is through my spiritual life, I discover this new life. And it's all wrapped up in my relationship to God, to the one true God, through Jesus Christ. And this is where my spiritual journey is. And so whether you want to admit it or not, at the time, I believed in Darwinism. I believed that we probably came from monkeys or something. But when I heard this guy giving this message, I realized, just like the light bulbs came on, he said, you did not come from an animal. You did not come from an animal. You are above the animals. He said, just as God is holy and separated from his creation, you and I, as men and women in this world, we are holy, separated from all creatures of the world and the universe. There is no creature in this universe like human beings. We are set apart for God's purposes. We are not like the animals. And when I heard that for the first time, I realized my belief in science, a lot of what I was believing was just off. It was wrong. It's not true, just not true. And so I took a step of faith that day, because I was stuck. I'd been stuck for like 5 years. Nothing was working. So I decided, you know what? He gave an invitation. The invitation was this. Now, if there's anybody here that would like to experience the new life that comes when you place your faith in Jesus Christ, I want you to stand up, because I want to lead you in a prayer. I think it's going to help you. I thought, well, I can't go wrong with that. I'll try that. And it sounded like that's what I want. I want new life. I'm tired of being stuck. So I stood up. He led me in a prayer. The prayer was a simple prayer like, Lord Jesus, forgive me for ignoring you. Lord Jesus, forgive me for rejecting you. Because I'd rejected Jesus all my young adult